my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dani and this is Coffee Break with Dani. Huge favor to ask, if you guys are new here or if you're not, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, like this video. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I promise you're gonna like it. Like this video. Any little tiny bit of engagement that you guys throw my way makes a world of a difference, and I really appreciate it so much. Today we're here with a part 3, I believe, of our girl chat, girl talk videos where I ask you guys to submit via Instagram a rant, a confession, a question. Maybe you need advice on something. Think of me as like your older sister or your older aunt, and you want, you know, just to pick at someone's brain, something that's been bothering you or weighing on your shoulders. I've told you guys before, I give, and I'm not tooting my own horn, I give epic advice. I mean, I'm telling you, the best kind of advice ever. Even my mom says, she's like, I call you for advice because you always give me the best advice on how to handle situations. And my mom's 65. So I do give good advice. However, I do not take any of my advice. So there's that. Today, I wanted to give a special shout out to Winc for sponsoring this video. I think it's just gonna be a thing. Anytime we do a girl talk, Winc's like, I got your back, girl. But this time around, they're offering you guys 50% off 4 bottles of wine and free shipping. That's unheard of, you guys. Usually it's a different deal. It's also a good deal, but it's never been this good. So 50% off 4 bottles of wine. Y'all have heard me talk about Winc before, but if it's new to you, it's a wine subscription. It's your best friend for 2020. Y'all, 2020 has been rough. But there have been a few things to look forward to, like getting married and getting wine delivered to my door. Today I decided to try a whole brand spanking new 4 bottles of wine. I wanted to mix it up, because y'all, I always get Folly of the Beast. Like, that's just how I am. Winc is a wine subscription that is perfect. Not only are they small batch, high quality wines that you cannot find at the grocery store, they are a fraction of the price. Here's the other thing that I haven't mentioned before about Winc. You can filter your search on wine, whether you are on a keto diet, you're vegan, you want a low sugar wine, you can filter your search results and pick wines that are perfect for your particular diet. Here's the other thing about this subscription. If you're having sort of like a tipsy, I don't know, November, and you know you're gonna have several guests coming over or parties, you can customize your subscription. You can order as many or as little or as few wine bottles as you want. You can cancel anytime, you can pause anytime. So it is completely in your hands or in your control to decide how you want this wine subscription to work for you. So if you didn't hear me the first time that I yelled at you, don't forget, you guys, this video, the offer is 50% off 4 bottles of wine and free shipping. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys mine because I love to show you guys the way it comes packaged. It's like if your wine was delivered in like the most extravagant, fancy car seat possible, because nothing ever happens to it, you guys. Look at all these layers of protection. There's more. Yup. Look at that. And then I'm gonna carefully tip this over. You guys, I'm such a faker. Like, I already had these bottles in the fridge. Because listen, if we're gonna drink together, if this is a girls' night, if this is like a girl chat, happy hour, whatever kind of sitch, then I need it to be ready. So my bottles are all already cold. But I wanted to show you how they, look at that. Do you see that? They're still suspended in there, protected. They're safe. They're held in a hug, like a cardboard hug, so you're not, you know, you're minimizing your carbon footprint while drinking wine. Do I need to convince you, or are you already convinced? So I'm so predictable. Like, I'm so predictable. If you've seen these videos before, you're like, is it pink? Is it white? Does it have bubbles? Like, I'm that kind of girl. Like, I'm that kind of wine girl. So we got the Easy Peasy Lemon Squeezy. This is a Sauvignon Blanc from California. Look at that. I'm gonna tell you guys a little story about something that happened on Instagram the other day. I also got the Capuchon Rosé from the Central Coast. Capuchon, what is that? I wonder what that means. It's French, right? But capuchon in Spanish means hood. Maybe it's like Little Red Riding Hood. Maybe. Is it a stretch? Probably. This is, you guys, this seems like a bottle of wine that I should just have in the background of my videos because of the label. How gorgeous is that? Isn't that stunning? I'm like, it would look cute in the background, wouldn't it? Because it's like a lip swatch. This is the Scarlet Smack California Zinfandel. Have you guys ever had a red Zinfandel? It'll change your life. I always thought Zinfandel was like a white or a pink wine, but if you've ever had a red Zin, oh my gosh, it's delicious. But I don't have a bottle opener for this. And then the last one that I got was the Loves Me Not. This is a white blend. You guys, listen, I'm not that classy when it comes to wine, and I really like blends. Blends are delicious, okay? So I asked you guys on Instagram, I did like a multiple choice quiz, and I was like, all right, for a girl talk video, which one should I drink? And you guys voted. Y'all didn't help me at all. It was like split 33 like percent across the board. I asked you guys if I should do the lemon squeezy, easy peasy lemon squeezy, the Loves Me Not, or the capuchon. And you guys didn't really help. I mean, you helped because you engaged, but it really didn't make my choice that much easier. And then I checked my direct messages, and April Athena 7 was like, girl, you need to try the lemon one. It is freaking delicious. And I was like, all right, choice has been made. While I wanted to open the blend, I do have a date with Parker later, and maybe we'll drink that one together. So right now we're gonna join. Why am I holding the bottle of wine like this? This is how real I want this experience to be for you guys, because if we were on a ladies' night, this is how I would be behaving. Except I wouldn't be reminding you that there's a link in the description box below that's gonna get you guys 50% off your 4 bottles of Winc wine. You guys, please do not leave me hanging. This is like leaving your girlfriend, like leaving her with her high five in the air and just not doing it. You can't do that to me. 50% off, you guys. 50. Oh, that smells delicious. This smells like trouble. That's what this smells like. So we're gonna pour ourselves a 2020 size glass of easy peasy lemon squeezy, and we're gonna talk about oh, I'm gonna get into trouble. I'm gonna get into big trouble, you guys. I need to slow down. Is it water? It may or may not be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but in my defense, it is Saturday. It's 2 o'clock. I'm wearing a dress and a full-blown smoky eye and have nowhere to go. So technically I could drink all 4 bottles of these wines, answer all your questions, and be okay. I think. Probably not test out that theory. Let's get into it, y'all. I know y'all are looking at my new loopy case. Look how pretty that is. Tie-dye everything. All right, confession. I'm turning 40 in 2 weeks, and I'm actually excited. You know what? That's not the first confession like that I see. I've already cheated and I scrolled through some of these. I got several that are like, I turned 41, I turned 45, and I'm excited. It's like, why wouldn't you be? You know what I mean? A birthday's a birthday. Listen, there's very few occasions where the entire day I can say, it's my birthday, I do what I want. It's my birthday, I say what I want. So happy early birthday to you guys. I really hope that you are embracing your age, because there's nothing you can do about it. We're getting older by the minute. And if we are not allowed to celebrate for an entire 24 hours a day and look forward to it, then why are we even here? This one kind of cut me deep. Why do moms feel all the guilt and not the dads? It results in a lot of resentment in my relationship. That's kind of like a 2-part answer for me, because I have known Parker for several years now, and I know that one of the biggest burdens for him is his dad guilt. He has major dad guilt. And it's funny to me as an outsider looking in, because I'm like, where does it come from? You're literally like the best dad ever. And so I think that guilt is something that is so individual to the person. It's not necessarily a dad versus mom thing as much as it is a human versus human thing. It's just how we're wired. It's whether we're empathetic or not, whether we're super, highly sensitive people or not, whether we are engaged or not. There are certain things that I feel super strongly about that for Parker are very not significant. There are other things that are super significant for him, and I'm like, you know? And so resentment is never a good thing because it builds. Resentment is like a tiny little snowball that grows and grows and grows and grows, and it manifests itself into really huge marital problems. I know I resented my ex for a very long time over his freedom, his liberty at coming and going and being gone all the time, traveling for work. And I was still able to run my household, run my business, raise 2 children, deal with 4 dogs, you know, and I was so resentful because I was like, I want your freedom. And I noticed that I started to harbor that resentment towards Parker at the beginning. And I was like, I can't go down this route again. So resentment is something that needs to be dealt with. It's not something you can sweep under the rug. It's not something you can ignore. It is not something that goes away. It is something that needs healing. So I would highly encourage you, super support you in reaching out to your husband and sharing these things with him, because I think it's going to be something with a very simple solution. It may even be a very easy conversation. I think oftentimes we create problems in our heads that aren't as big as they actually are. So they seem bigger to us when we internalize them than they are, you know, in reality. There have been times where I tell Parker, you know, what you did made me feel A, B, C, and D. It made me feel left out. It made me feel insignificant. It made me feel like I wasn't your priority. And then he goes down and he's like, whoa, my train of thought was this, this, and this. And it's completely not what I was thinking. And it gives really nice healing to something that seemed kind of like a big deal. I think when you have children with someone, or you decide you want to spend the rest of your life with someone, although problems exist and problems are big and problems are scary, you wouldn't want to have to solve them with anyone else other than your partner. So give him the benefit of the doubt and try and tackle this resentment. Where is it coming from? And maybe he feels the same way and he's just not very good at showing it. But I do encourage you to figure it out quickly, because it will start to show itself in your relationship, and it's not a really good feeling, you know? Birth controls are killing my libido. My husband notices and mentions it sometimes. Super TMI, but when do we not talk about my boobs and my taco on this channel? The only birth control that doesn't kill my libido is the low estrogen. Everything else, if you touch me, I will stab you in the eye. It is a very normal thing, and you cannot force yourself to be in the mood. It is a physical and emotional reaction to hormones. Like, your hormones are making you act this way, so you can't psych yourself into having sex. I don't care if you're married to The Rock, you know? It's a real thing. And honestly, if it's affecting you in your marriage or your relationship where you do not want to have that intimate connection with your spouse, it's a problem. It is a big problem, because that is a very special part of your relationship. For some people, you know, intimate relationships aren't top 3, or they aren't a priority, and that's fine. And I think that's something that changes over time as you get older, as you mature, as your priorities change. Some people it's top 3, other people it's top 10, other people it's not even top 20. So it really depends on how important it is, but it is a health concern, and it is something that you do need to talk to your gynecologist about. It is definitely a health concern, and I would bring it up, because it might be a dose that might be too strong for you. It might be a different kind of hormone that you shouldn't be taking. So there are options. However, the journey to find the right option is long, and it takes months to figure out. So for me, I figured it out 3 years ago. So yeah, it was like, oh my God, I don't want to have babies, but I also don't want you to touch me. I'm going to stab you in the eyeball. Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. And it was a simple fact of just changing my birth control. How do you handle know-it-all people? They wear me out. Confession, if you haven't noticed, I am a know-it-all. For me, it's been a very big cross to bear, because it has affected my friendships, my relationships. I can only speak for myself, and I'm trying my best to include all the know-it-alls on the planet. I think depending on how they come across, generally speaking, as a know-it-all, I try to be helpful, and I try to contribute. I was raised believing that I needed to earn my place, that I needed to justify my needs, that they needed to come from a place of validity. So whether it was needing a hug, or needing love, or needing school supplies, I needed to justify why I needed them. And so becoming a know-it-all for me was a way of feeling like a productive member of society, like I was contributing. So if someone had a problem with something, I want to help. If someone had a question, I'd want to help. If someone was sad, I'd want to help. So it doesn't matter if it's helping with a fun fact or helping with a hug, but it always stems from wanting to help, so I don't feel like I'm misusing space. And so I don't want to make a gross generalization or a gross statement, but I think that know-it-alls come from a place of, it all goes back to how you were raised, you guys. It all goes back to how you were planted and how you bloomed growing up. A know-it-all can come from a place of wanting to not feel like they're misusing space, wanting to feel like they're helpful, maybe wanting to feel like a little ego stroke because they don't get it in their relationships, in their friendships, in their family. They don't feel like they are noticed. So I oftentimes question my dislike for certain personality types and why I don't like them, and I try to understand why they could be the way they are. Whether it's someone that doesn't use very many words to communicate, or it's someone that is always looking for, the people that have a problem for every solution. It's always important to not just jump to conclusions about, I don't like that person because they're a know-it-all, or I don't like that person because they're so negative. I think it's important to come from a place of, they are that way for a reason. It's not my place to understand what that reason is, but it's also not my place to judge them for the way they are. So know-it-alls can be kind of annoying. So that's my 2 cents. From annoying people for the last 35 years of my life, that is my position. That's why I am that way. So I hope that helps. This one should not have made me laugh, but it really did. And thank you for the laugh. And I'm sorry that this is what you're going through, but I think we've all been there. How do you co-parent when the other parent is being Divorce is hard. And I've talked about this so many times before. Divorce is like a death when no one actually dies. It's death where you have to keep seeing the ghost. And it is very hard. And you can only control your behavior, the way you communicate, what you do. And what kept me strong when I was in a low point in my co-parenting was knowing that my choices, my reaction, my engagement was for my children. It wasn't for my co-parent. His behavior to me, the way he treated me, the way he spoke to me, how uncooperative he was at the very beginning of all his craziness, that was a reflection of him. But my response, my engagement, my communication with him was always completely derivative of my love for my children. So you can't control whether he is an asshole or not, and I can't tell you whether he's ever gonna change or not, but I can tell you that you're in full control of the mom that you wanna be for your children. And your communication and your relationship with their dad is all they're gonna notice. So that's something to consider. And even on those weekdays, on those hard days where you wanna drive by his house and just, throw 24 eggs at his front door, or bologna on his car, you can't do that. You have to stay strong for the children, Wearing a mask alone in your car or on a walk. Why though, Karen? So I see this a ton, that meme of if you're wearing a mask in your car and then it's like something sarcastic, something, satirical, something funny. I've seen it a lot. But what we do have to remember, and this is what I thought about instantly when I saw someone wearing a mask in their car, is when COVID started, like around February or March of this year, every day there was a different report, whether COVID lives on the floor, COVID lives on the air, whether COVID travels. And for a very long time, they were reporting that COVID lived floating in the air for about 3 hours. So if you think about this, someone that is running errands, maybe they're going to the grocery store, maybe they just got in the car. We don't know how long they've been in their car for. So if they're of the understanding, and I'm not saying this is true or not because it still hasn't been proven, or maybe it has and I just stopped watching the news, you guys. They may still be of the understanding that they can still get it from just breathing, being outside, and someone was there with COVID 3 hours ago and they're getting exposed. It's just one of those things where It's rather to be safe than sorry, you know? And if someone's driving around with a mask on their face, well, I hope their mask is clean. How to get past a crush. We never talked, but after 4 years, I still stalk him like crazy. Well, you said one word there that really stuck out to me. It is definitely crazy. If you never talked, why did you like him? What about him was so special that you've wasted 4 years of your life invested in figuring out what this person is up to, if you've never spoken? Because if you think about it, when you're looking for a partner, like you have a list, it's like a grocery list, right? Or a shopping list of traits that you find appealing, attractive, or that you would want in your future partner. You know, they're loyal, they're responsible, they're respectful, they're funny, they're a good dancer, they're a hard worker. So you have a list, your wish list. And the way that I describe it is like building a cake. You have the cake, the actual cake, and that's what's most important, right? That's what's on the inside. Are they good communicators? Do they believe in God if faith is important to you? Whether they have good integrity, like moral integrity, or they're honest, they're loyal. So that's the beefy stuff. Then you have the filling. The filling is fun, you know, and that's, do they like dogs? Do you guys like the same music? Would he be willing to go to church with you on Sundays? Do you guys both share your fascination for tacos or cheeseburgers or whatever? You know, do you both like to watercolor? And then there's the frosting, and the frosting isn't really important, but it's what makes you buy the cake, right? Are they tall? Are they dark? Are they handsome? Do they have a beard? Do they have freckles? Do they have red hair? Like, what are you attracted to? So what is so fascinating about a stranger that has kept you on the hook for 4 years? I would be furious with myself if I've invested 4 years and not ever had any sort of meaningful connection with someone. But then I'm also a firm believer in signs and, you know, miracles and spirituality, and maybe there's a reason why you feel connected to this person. But I would recommend not spending 1 more second invested in a stranger unless you're gonna send him an email, a direct message, or, you know, contact him on Facebook or MySpace or whatever it is. Like, do not promise me that you are not gonna waste a single second more of your life thinking about this person without actually making a connection. Because girl, you are swindling your life away for a stranger when you could be swiping on Bumble and still swindling your life. Because dating during a pandemic must be so hard. All right, y'all, this one's super cool. Kelly Hollis is getting married in 2 weeks. Congratulations. I know I said it would be anonymous, but that doesn't seem like something that requires to be kept anonymous. By the time you see this video, this is probably her wedding weekend. I would assume she's getting married Labor Day weekend, probably, or you've been married for a week. Regardless, congratulations. So exciting. I don't know if you guys heard, but I got married about a month ago. You've heard. Advice on how to deal with a co-parent who is easily influenced by his new partner. Okay. Are you sure he's being negatively influenced? For example, Parker and I are a team, and since getting together, like officially together, I have heavily influenced him on speaking up for himself because he's very accommodating and he's very blurry with his personal boundaries. And so there were times where he would just do what he was doing because he was told to do it, and it wasn't really what in his heart he wanted to do as a father. And so I have influenced him and I have given him courage to speak up for himself. So I would simply advise you to put yourself in her shoes as his new partner. And if it's something that is arbitrarily rude, inappropriate, or just crossing the line and it's none of her business and it's not in the best interest of the children, then you need to talk to him one-on-one. Because regardless of who I am, Parker and his co-parent have a relationship, and their relationship is to parent their 2 children. And they need to come to an agreement on what they find is best for their kids. regardless of what I think and what I say, ultimately the decision is for the parents. So if she's overstepping and she's crossing the line and she is not respecting the boundaries or the union that you two have as parents of these children, then you need to have a come to Jesus talk with him and be like, listen, I don't want to be that girl and I don't want to take it to that level, but you and I need to get on the same page with these kids, even if I have to catch her outside. You know what I mean? Like, do you want her to catch these fists? Because these are my kids. And she is, you know, you don't know her from Adam in terms of us and our kids. And if she's arbitrarily doing something that is crossing a line that is not her place, you need to say something, because it's not okay to interfere with the well-being of children in a way that it's not really her business. You know, ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't care how married I am to Parker, it's none of my business. It is my business, but ultimately it's not, you know? You know what I mean? Like, it's totally my business, but it's also not. If you think that she's definitely crossing a line and she's being a total asshole, then you need to talk to him and be like, listen, you either control her and put her on a leash, or I'm gonna have to do it myself and you're not gonna like it. How did you know your marriage was over and how did you accept that? I've answered that question like 4,000 times on this channel. You just know. You know. If you're asking a stranger on the internet, you know. Like, you just know. There's no way, there's no rationalization, there's no time period, there's no waiting period, there's no like harvesting time. It's, you know. You just know. You know in here, you know in here, you know in here, you know. What is the best way to deal with guilt when there are things in the past you regret? Guilt comes from a place of unresolved issues or unresolvedness, and guilt comes from wishing you had done things differently. When you become resolute to the idea that you cannot go back and change what was done, you've gone, you know, that first step in the direction of healing and learning from that experience. If you regret something, it's because there's a lesson. But if you can't move past that guilt, you haven't learned the lesson yet. So become resolute to the idea that you do not have a time machine. You cannot go back in time. You cannot change the way things were. But what you can do is change the future. What you can do is change that pattern. What you can do is extract the lesson from that poor choice or that guilt that you feel or from that regretful moment you had and say, hey, what are you wanting me to learn from this? Like, why do I regret it so much? If I could have done something differently, what would I have done differently? And it's not about going back in time and changing what has already occurred. It's about making sure that in the future, you don't walk that same path. You close down that path and you start a new one. And you start that new one with the lesson that you've learned. I would like advice on how to deal with loneliness from leaving toxic friends. You know, it's funny because I think if you knew your friends were toxic, the loneliness doesn't come from a place of not having those friends, because if you knew they were toxic, you knew they weren't your friends, right? And so this is one of those things where like love and divorce are not the same thing. They're not connected. Leaving toxic friendships and loneliness are not connected. I think loneliness is internal. It's something that comes from inside. I was married for almost 10 years and I was very lonely, but I was always surrounded by people. I had my partner, I had my children, I had my job, and it was still a very isolating, lonely place. So loneliness comes from some unresolved feeling that you have inside of you. Why do you feel so lonely? What do you need to feel so that your needs are met? So what is the opposite of lonely for you? Does that look like being confident in who you are and how you look? Is it being able to have lunch by yourself at a restaurant? Is it being in a room surrounded with 12 or 15 girlfriends? What is the opposite of loneliness for you? For me, the opposite of loneliness is being happy alone. So lonely for me is being surrounded by people and not feeling a connection with any of them. For me, the opposite of loneliness, being fulfilled, is being completely empty, but knowing that I have a connection with certain people that I may not see every day, that I may not see every month, that I may see twice a year, like Sam. So how do you understand what loneliness is and how can you get away from it? Toxic friends, you shouldn't even be calling them friends. You took out the trash and that's awesome. That's great. That is I'm proud of you, because the last thing that we need is to be lonely in a crowded room. It's a horrible feeling. It is so absolutely isolating. So what do you need? What do you need to not feel lonely? What does that look like for you? Is it being confident in your own skin? Is it, you know, joining an app? Maybe there's a Nextdoor app in the neighborhood you live in. There's a lot of social groups on there. Or maybe it's the Meetup app where people that like to hike meet up, or people that like to play chess meet up. There's like little categories of groups. And then it's making friendships based on similar interests, you know, similar hobbies, similar things. I think saying out loud that you're lonely is a very brave step, but figuring out how to move away in the opposite direction of that is going to be your next big step. Can you regain trust in a relationship? Sorry, shiny moment. Can you regain trust in a relationship once it's lost? I think that depends on you. That depends on the type of person you are. That depends on the type of infraction or indiscretion that was committed. I'm very forgiving. And I forgive things that I shouldn't forgive, and I let go so easily, but there are other things that I can't let go of, that hurt so much, that turn me into a passive aggressive person or a blatantly aggressive person. There are things that make me defensive, but losing trust is something that is pretty major. And I think that the biggest step in healing is believing that the other person is actually sorry. And I know they say that forgiveness is something that is for you, that you do for yourself. You don't necessarily have to forgive the other person and want to take them back, but you want to forgive because you don't want to carry that hate. So it sounds to me like you've forgiven, but trusting someone, again, I think as a human, you need to truly believe that that person recognizes that they hurt you, recognizes the indiscretion, and feels bad about it. If there isn't that connection, that remorse, it's very hard to rebuild trust. You know, it is truly hard. And having serious relationships throughout my life, I can tell you that after a major indiscretion, if the other person doesn't put themselves in your shoes and feels that empathy, that connection, it isn't destroyed, just seeing you destroyed, that's not a person that you want. In Parker, I found someone that accepts when he hurts me, and he does it in such a way where it's almost as if he had hurt himself. And that's the kind of devotion that you want in a partner. If someone goes out and makes a mistake, everybody makes mistakes. Everyone commits mistakes. Everyone trips and falls. Everyone. And I'd like to hope and pray that when I make a mistake, I am forgiven and absolved, just like, you know, I would do for someone else. But it's knowing that the partner that you picked is so invested in your connection that when they hurt you, they hurt themselves as well. If you don't have that strong bond or connection, I think it would be very challenging to really rebuild that trust. It would be hard to believe. Look at these two sleeping together. How cute is that? It would be so hard to feel like it was being sincere, you know? How to get your mother and father-in-law to like you. I don't know, but if you find out, can you share it with me? I have yet to meet an in-law or a suegro that actually likes me. I had one, and their son cheated on me, so they still ask my parents about me, and I'm like, yo, that ship has sailed. I've been married twice now. So if you know the secret, please send it down. My partner and I just bought a home, and my mother-in-law keeps telling me what to do in my own home. Boundaries, you guys, especially with older people, they're harder, you know, they feel like entitled, like we're indebted to them, like what they say goes. And it's true, we do have to respect them and we have to take their advice, and they are full of wisdom, but boundaries, always boundaries. I mean, you need to work on drawing boundaries. You have to have the conversation once, and it's pretty hard. and then you do like a little tune-up maybe once or twice a year, and you're good to go. I promise you, if they respect you, they'll respect your boundaries. Or the easy route is to just be like, oh wow, yeah, that's a great idea, Susan, for sure. Sure, I'll buy that purple shag rug. Yeah, if it's on back order, I already called. Yeah, man, I loved it. I called. It'll be here in like 6 months. So maybe we'll look for something else in the meantime, but thanks. I need to confess that you're awesome. You're so wise. I love you, Dani. Thanks. After that like rude, sarcastic joke. But thank you. I'll take it. Dani, I love you, monster face. How do you motivate your significant other to aim higher? That's tough, but I have noticed that people really like encouragement, like stupid kindergarten teacher encouragement. The littlest, simplest stuff really motivates Parker. You know, when he comes out and I'm like, oh my goodness, you look so handsome. And he's like, he's like a peacock the rest of the day. It's like that simple stuff to remind your partner that they're exciting. I think it really makes you feel powerful, like you can take on the day. You know, there are some days where, gosh, I'm just so hard on myself and I'm just sucking at life, and I feel like I could be doing so much better. I could have worked harder. I could have done something differently. And Parker says something dumb like, and it's not dumb, obviously it's a big deal, but it's something insignificant like, gosh, I love how you look in white. And I'm like, did you just say I look like Fiancé? Did you just say I look like $1 million? Because I'm about to go clean the house top to bottom and I do it with a smile on my face, you know? It's just little bursts of light and joy and just raw niceness to your partner that really encourages them. And if he is someone that is complacent, that is happy with the way things are, I think you knew that going into it. And trying to change him now is not gonna work. So if this is a character trait about him where he's just comfortable with where he's at, with status quo, with his level, like he's just not a hungry person, is it a deal breaker? You know, like think about it that way. If it's something that maybe he's just sad, maybe he's depressed, maybe freaking 2020 is getting to him just like all of us, and he just needs that little, you know, why are you so handsome, you know? Oh, this confession is so sweet. I finally bought my 2 boys their beds. For 6 months, they had their mattresses on the floor. So they didn't have their mattresses on the floor for a year. Honey, you are doing the best you can, and they had somewhere to sleep. And I bet to them growing up, they're gonna think about this as one of their fondest memories. I remember one of my favorite meals was birote with refried beans and cheese. And I didn't find out, or come to find out now that I'm older, that's when my dad didn't get paid and we didn't have money for groceries. And so for dinner, we'd have half a slice of birote, which is just like, what's birote? Like a really short baguette Mexican roll. It's like a sandwich roll, cut in half. You take out the migajon, or the stuffing in the middle, and you fill it with beans and cheese. And that was our dinner. And I was like, that was bomb. I look forward to it. And now I find out that it was because my dad didn't get paid and we couldn't buy groceries, and we had already used our, you know, government cheese or whatever. And so trust that your children are never gonna look back and be like, do you remember when my mom didn't work hard enough and we had to sleep on the floor on our mattresses? They're gonna be like, do you remember when it was super cool and we got to sleep on our mattresses on the floor? So annoying. My husband will only put the dishes in the sink and not in the dishwasher. Do you want him to put them in the dishwasher wrong? Because, okay, it's kind of like, pick your battles. He puts it in the sink and then you load it correctly, or he puts it in the dishwasher incorrectly and then you still have to fix it. Is there like a lesser evil here? Because I'm not finding it. I really don't want to talk about the dishwasher right now. It's triggering. My fiance's ex came back into his life, and we took a break for him to figure out, is this wrong to be back together? Yeah, you need a break? Guess what? Give him an indefinite break, because he's either sure to be with you or he's sure not to be with you. But there is nothing that he needs to think about. He had her enough, he's had you enough, and there's nothing to think about. If they broke up once, they're gonna break up again, but you are nobody's like holding place. Like, this is like when you go to the store and someone's like, can you hold my place in line? No. If you forgot your shopping list and you missed the tomatoes, that's on you. I'm not gonna stand here and wait for you to decide whether you want the tomatoes or the carrots. Listen, I'll make it easy for you and the carrots are out of your life. You deserve better than to be holding someone's place just to see if you're the right fit. I'm sorry, but this isn't a fitting room where you get to try on 92 pairs of jeans. It doesn't work that way. He's had her, he's had you, and he should know better. You guys, I'm a highly sensitive person, I'm full of empathy, and these videos are very hard. These videos are gonna put me in jail. Y'all deserve better. I'm sorry, but you deserve better. ¿Cómo se tomaron tus papás lo de tu boda? Siento que low-key te odian tantito. That's in Spanish, and it says, how did your parents take the news of your wedding? I feel like low-key they mildly hate you. I'll never know. You know, my parents are passive aggressive in the way that they handle things, the way that they communicate. And so knowing them so well, I can tell you that they are probably still furious with me, but they will never outright tell me, we don't agree with what you did. And I don't think that they'll tell me because for years I was like, you cannot tell me how to live my life. I don't live in your home anymore. I do not follow your rules anymore. I am not ashamed in the choices that I've made, and I'm not doing anything wrong. And I think if I had a tattoo across my forehead or I was a billboard on what I want to cry out to my parents that they'll actually understand and it'll actually penetrate their soul and their hearts and their brains is, I am not doing anything wrong. Our parents, my parents were raised very conservatively, very close-minded, very conditional, and I refuse to accept that style of parenting, you know, telling me that if I come home after 2, it's because I'm a whore, doesn't make sense. Or if you don't marry when you're a virgin, then, you know, your husband's gonna leave you. Or if your marriage fails, well, you need to suck it up and you need to stay with it because you must have done something wrong. You know, it's that mentality that is so abusive. And life isn't black and white. It's not that simple. It's not like you live at home with your parents, you're a virgin, then you marry off and you have a perfect marriage. And you have a perfect marriage because you've never been touched by anyone, because you're a virgin and you're a treasure and you're just gonna magically be the perfect wife and everything's gonna fall into place because you're gonna say, yes, sir, how much, sir, when, sir, how, you know, it's like, I'm sorry, life isn't that easy. So if I needed to tell my parents something, it would be, I am not doing anything wrong. If you feel attacked and if you feel hurt and if you feel offended, it comes from a place of shame. And I don't have shame. I don't have shame in any of my choices. I am proud of my choices and I feel like I'm standing on my own 2 feet in the place I am supposed to be in this exact moment in time. And so if they are upset at me or if they're not upset at me, I don't feel shame in my choice. And their feelings on a choice that only affects me only affects them, you know? I'm happy. I'm confident in my choices. I love what I've done. I love where I am in my life. And if that is something that is hard for them to understand, then it's fine. They can take however much time they need to for it to make sense to them. But it makes sense to me. So I have been working with my sister for almost 3 years. Fast forward to today, my last day, and I told her, ya lárgate. It means just leave, like just leave, but like aggressively. So I left. Oh, and I was told, she told her, just leave. So I left, and then I'm being called childish. Was I wrong to leave? You follow directions. Was she expecting you not to follow directions? I'm sorry, but if I get kicked out of somewhere, I'm gonna be like, okay, sorry. Clearly I've offended you, so I'm gonna leave because you're asking me to. So I don't believe in mind games. I don't believe in being passive aggressive. I believe in being aggressive aggressive. So if you wanna say something, you say it. If you wanna do something, just do it. But I don't believe in playing mind games and saying, it feels like entrapment. You know, it feels like entrapment. Like she was leading you to get angry, like she was trying to pick a fight with you. But then when you actually did what she said, then she's like, well, you're a child. That was immature. No, it wasn't immature. You know what was immature? Trying to play mind games and manipulate me to actually stay, because what you were trying to do is pick a fight with me and seeing if I was gonna take it or not. I don't do that, you know? How do you feel about a guy wanting to wait for marriage and kids until financially stable? I don't think there's ever a right time. I think there's always a wrong time. I think there's never enough money. I think there's always something that's happening, and I think there's always something that needs to get done, and there's always gonna be a bigger house to be bought, and there's always gonna be a car to be fixed, and there's always gonna be a medical bill to be paid, and there's always gonna be a sick pet or a dog, and there's always gonna be a job that you lost or a promotion that you're getting. There is never, and I tell you this wholeheartedly, there is never a right time for marriage and kids. Never. There is never that perfect equation that comes together and you're like, right now, do it right now. You have 1 week to get married. This is the perfect time. It doesn't work like that. There's never a perfect time. Is there an imperfect time? Yeah, absolutely. You know, and we know what that is. Like if you're in excessive amount of debt, if you had your car repossessed, if you just lost your job, if there is no future, you know, with your partner, or you're moving internationally, or you've suddenly become the caregiver of your sick grandfather or father or whatever. There's definitely a wrong time. But there is most certainly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, never a right time to get married or have kids. I'm sorry. That equation, that formula does not exist. I know you mentioned this before, but can you go into detail about accepting versus tolerating? I told you guys this when I was still dating, that I wanted to pick a partner where I was okay accepting certain things about them versus tolerating certain things about him, which is what I did with my previous relationship. So accepting versus tolerating, there's a big difference. So accepting means you wholeheartedly accept it. If it never changes, never goes away, you're okay with it. Tolerating it means that you are not okay with it, but when it happens, you turn the blind eye and it still bothers you. When something bothers you, you can't ignore it. And even if you ignore it, it's like collecting tiny little pebbles in your shoe. Something that you tolerate, like your partner's smoking. He lights a cigarette, pebble in your shoe. You go to a restaurant, you eat, you walk out, he lights a cigarette, pebble in your shoe, pebble in your shoe, pebble in your shoe. And you're tolerating a behavior that you are not okay with. Accepting it would be, you went to the grocery store and you realized he ran out of cigarettes and you bought him cigarettes. You're okay with it. So tolerating something eventually becomes a problem. Accepting something never turns into a problem. So I can accept that you don't load the dishwasher properly. Let's just keep it basic. Like, that's how basic I am. I accept that Parker does not load the dishwasher properly. I do not tolerate anything. Parker doesn't have any behavior that I tolerate, because people that exhibit behaviors that I tolerate are people that I do not have a connection with, because that will turn into a perpetual problem and something that I cannot live with. So it's very important to be able to differentiate whether you're tolerating a behavior or accepting it. Now, there are certain behaviors that are not acceptable, that you shouldn't even remotely consider accepting, like cheating. You know, you can't say, oh yeah, I've become okay with accepting him spending Tuesday nights with Gloria. That's not. Love yourself a little bit, you know? But you can accept that he's horrible at washing dishes, or you can accept that, you know, he doesn't read your mind. You know, he's dense, for lack of a better word. You have to tell him, I want you to love me this way, this way, this way, and this way. And he's like, okay. So it's not lack of interest of wanting to make you happy. It's just that lack of like a language barrier, you know, not necessarily English to English, but you communicate differently than he does. So accepting something is easy. Tolerating something eventually has an expiration date. Tolerating something eventually has an expiration date, and it usually blows up and turns into something so much bigger than it needed to be. Like someone that does a lot of like little baby white lies. Have you guys ever met someone that just lies? They're just good at lying, and they just lie and they like magnify things, and you're like, why? What's the point? Well, you're tolerating it, you're tolerating it, you're tolerating. Then the like fantasy wears off, or the magic, and you're like, why are you lying about everything? It's exhausting. How do you keep up? Are you lying to me? You know? So tolerating something or toleration has an expiration date. Acceptance doesn't. Acceptance lives on forever. This one's probably gonna trigger me. Is talking to another woman through Instagram, just casually talking, actually cheating? Is it to you? I think when you enter in a union with someone, whether it's a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a fiance, a husband, there is a clear understanding of what cheating means to me versus what cheating means to you. Like, we're on the same page here. There is no blurry lines. It is specific. This is a situation where it's black and white, right? If you're asking me if it's cheating, for me and Parker, it would hurt my feelings, but I wouldn't consider it cheating. If he did it, I would find it inappropriate and it would cause a fight, but I wouldn't consider it cheating. It's negative and it would hurt our relationship, but I wouldn't consider it cheating. So it's kind of one of those situations where it's like, you ran someone over with a car. Did you mean to do it, or was it an accident? Were you paying attention and you were just distracted and you hit them with the car? Or did you intentionally kick them out of the car and then run over them? You know, there's a difference. How you see the crime that was committed, because they're both running someone over, but one was not so serious, the other one was full on intentional. So how do you see this? Parker and I have previous backgrounds of cheating, you know, of people cheating on us. And we do have trust issues, but we don't have trust issues with each other. We bonded over the fact that we were cheaties, you know, that we got cheated on. We bonded over that. And so we're very clear where we're like, we're in this head first, clothes on, like we're in the pool, fully committed, no interaction, no possibility of cheating. Cheating's the worst. Cheating sucks. Cheating is dirty. Like, this is not what we're about. And so we have very clear guidelines, specific boundaries on what cheating is. But it sounds to me like it's something that's bothering you. And it sounds to me like it's something that's causing an insecurity. Insecurities and doubts are like little cracks in a home. If it doesn't get repaired or tended to, the crack just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the next time where it's not chatting with someone on Instagram and he comes home a little bit later, or you see a phone number on his call log that is, you know, very often, and you don't know where it's from, it's gonna be like, is it the Instagram girl? He comes home late from work and he smells like something. Is it the Instagram girl? You check his email and he quickly erases an email and you're like, is it the Instagram? You know what I mean? So you don't want to plant the seed and not tend to this problem. So have very clear, specific bullet points on what cheating is to you. And if this feels like cheating to you, tell him, because it might not be cheating to him, and it might be something where you two see cheating as differently, but he may not know that this is something that is a deal breaker for you. I'm sorry, but if someone is in Parker's direct messages talking to him, it's hidden. It's not a text message. It's not out in the open. It's not a phone call. It's a direct message. That is secretive. It is laced. It is hidden. To me, that's not okay. But to him, it might be something like, well, dude, she was some girl I saw in middle school and I just reconnected with her. It's no big deal. I'm like, well, it is a big deal to me because I got trust issues, you know? You never want to get into the woody, like the woodsy part of the woods where you're like, well, let me check your Instagram. Well, give me your Instagram password. Like, you don't want to go there. I know with Parker that if I say, hey, can I see your phone for a second? He's not going to be like, why? He's just going to hand it to me. And I know the minute that he says why, I'm going to be triggered because of my previous experience. And I'm going to be like, why don't you want to give it to me? What's her name? Is she prettier than me? So you don't want to get into that blurry, woodsy neck of the woods where it gets confusing and sketchy. If you don't trust him, is it personal issues, previous history? Is it him? Has he given you previous reasons to not trust him? What's his address? Because I'm gonna go find this and ask him why he's talking to other on Instagram, because that ain't cool, okay? The only person he should be talking about Instagram is to me, and that's to coordinate happy birthday, hello, salute to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm dating a Caucasian man. Tips on getting both to understand cultural differences. I confess, as a Latina, I never wanted a white boyfriend, but now I'm happy and so in love. My mom's like, is he dating you for your money? What did he see in you? I wonder. Usually when white guys date Latinas, it's for a specific reason. What is his secret motive? Let's investigate this further. I never dated based on culture. I never dated based on looks. I never dated based on race or ethnicity or background. I dated based on connection. I can line up every single one of my real crushes or relationships or loves. I can line them up and none of them look like the other. None of them. I mean, none of them. They have nothing in common. I promise. And so for me, it's never been a physical thing. Obviously, I find you attractive, but what I find attractive is the feeling, you know, is the inside, is how you make me feel, it's how you treat me. And so I think that's something that's very hard for us culturally to understand, or to make our parents understand, that it's like, just because I'm Mexican doesn't mean I want to date a Mexican. I just want to date someone that treats me right, and I'm going to try until I get it right. And we're so like constrained or restricted to this bubble of trying to stay within our demographic of what we should be dating, but it's not necessarily about seeing the skin tone or the religion or the background or their education. It's more of, is this a partner that is going to help me become successful? And I don't mean financially successful. I mean, is this partner going to encourage me to be strong and to be confident and to be loving and to grow? Is this partner going to help me grow, or is this partner going to sandbag me? Is this partner going to love and respect me and honor me, or is this partner going to teach me a lesson and then have me walk away in another direction? An ocean of differences, Parker and I. An ocean. I mean, our biggest ocean is how we rear kids. So different. I mean, just from communicating with him, it's like, well, we have to buy our kids their first car and we have to pay for their college. And the minute they turn 18, we kick them out of the house and we send them off and like pretend they're adults and they're going to be fine. You know, we equip them with a car at 16 and good luck driving, you know. And for me, I'm like, oh, your shorts aren't long enough, you know, and maybe not a car so soon, and maybe we can get him a car, but like when she has a job and she can actually pay for her insurance and she can pay for her gas, and is she even mature enough to have a car because it's so dangerous and people can crash her? And you know, and I have that insanely conservative, overprotective difference when it comes to rearing kids. And culturally for Parker, it's like you shove them out of the nest and you hope they can fly, and when they fall, you just pick them back up and try again, you know. And I'm like, I don't want them to come back. I want to send them out when they're ready, and I can be sure they're not coming back. So culturally, I think food and child rearing, but ultimately, in the center of it all, in the heart of it all, we're human. And we have the same desire to be loved and accepted. And if we stop seeing color, and we stop seeing race and religion, and we stop seeing who the parents are, and we just see humans for who they are, and how we can help each other grow, and how we can motivate each other to stay strong, and how we can support one another to continue to be better, that's all that matters. Who cares what they look like? Who cares how much they bring into the bank account? As long as they carry their weight and they motivate you to be better, and you grow together as a partnership, and you create this strong foundation that's like, hey, you know what? Come hell or high water, we're not rocking. We're standing firm, and we're keeping this going and we're moving forward, that's all that matters. So if you want to end up with a delicious virote gringo like I did, more power to you, girl. I got so annoyed at my husband that I gave myself a haircut. Why? Y'all, this entire quarantine, I have wanted to give myself bangs, but I know better. So I always tell Parker, I'm like, Parker, I think I'm gonna give myself bangs. And he's like, takes all the shears. He takes all the shears out of the house. He knows. You guys, men will drive us crazy, but they also know when to support us and when to interfere. Parker is good at interference. You know, he's like, not right now. Bangs, probably not a good idea. Just, I don't like bangs. Bangs are not my favorite. And you look like Jessica Alba with your hair this way. And I'm like, oh, really? What else? ¿Qué más, mi amor? This one's important. Is ambition bad? I find myself wanting a better paying job, a better lifestyle, and more in general. I don't think so. I think ambition is good, and ambition shows the sign of growth. Ambition shows that you want to be better, that you want to strive to be better, that you want to strive to be stronger, that you want to strive to grow. And I think it only becomes an obstacle when it equals your value. So if you base your value as a human based on how much money you're making or what your pay grade is or where you are in your company, then it's a huge problem. But if your ambition comes from a place of you like to get to milestones and you like to climb and you like to climb and it feels good, it's a challenge for you. It's almost like running 1 mile and then next week you start running 2 miles and then a month after that you're running 10 miles and then in 2 months you signed up for your half marathon. I think it's a beautiful sign of growth and it's a beautiful sign of strength. But when it becomes a derivative or a direct connection of what value you hold for yourself, like that's how much you're worth, then it is absolutely 100% toxic, and that is not a life that you want for yourself, because your value doesn't come from your paycheck. Your value doesn't come from where you stand in your company. Your value comes from, do you love yourself? Do you respect your community? Do you have faith? Are you loyal? Are you honest? Are you hard worker? Are you kind? Do you contribute to your society? That's where your value comes from. Where's your moral integrity? But your paycheck is bullshit. Because money comes and goes. I told you guys in several weekend vlogs, I'm like, I haven't made money in months. You know, God knows, God unwilling or willing or whatever his wish is, we could be poor in the next year. That's not going to change the way I feel about myself. That's not going to change the way I value myself or I love myself or I treat myself or I treat my children. It's just money comes and goes. Money is fleeting, but money doesn't carry. We don't have, you know how money has a dollar sign? What's the dollar sign equivalent for humans? There isn't one, right? But if you have milestones and you have goals that you want to reach, good for you, man. Have something to shoot at, you know, have something to shoot at. When you reach for it, then have something higher to shoot at, because it's keeping you in line. It's keeping you motivated. It's keeping you strong. And that's all that matters. But never, ever let your title, your position, your rank, or your bank account equate to how much you're worth as a human. My ex-husband is still besties with my entire family and brings his new/old girlfriend around them. I'm sorry, are you talking about my life? Parker and his co-parent had a very close relationship with each other's families. They're all still actually very close. It wasn't until I showed up into the picture that I was like, listen, everyone, this makes me very uncomfortable. I think it's disrespectful. I respect your friendship and I respect that you guys have such an amazing relationship for the kids, but that's it. It's for the kids. Other than that, I think it's disrespectful to me to show up to this situation and try to make a name for myself. It's like I'm having to live in this shadow, and it's not fair. I don't have any ill intention, any ill will, any ill sentiment, any feelings about, you know, the girl's mom. I think she's wonderful, and I just hear what the girls tell me, and she sounds like an amazing mom. But I just want to know her in the dynamic of being the mom to these wonderful girls. And these girls wouldn't be as wonderful unless they had a magnificent mom as they do. Bottom line. But I don't want to know her in any other type of dynamic. I don't want her shoved down my throat from Parker's family or, you know, his best friendships or things like that. I think it's disrespectful, but I think to each their own. This dynamic might work for other people. It might not work for me. It may work for you. For you, it clearly sounds like you feel disrespected, and it's not fair. But the problem here isn't your ex-husband. Who's the problem, y'all? It's your friends and family. Your friends and family need to get a clear message from you that, hey, this hurts my feelings. I find this very disrespectful. It makes me uncomfortable, and I would really appreciate it if you kept your distance, if you didn't communicate with him. I know it's a big ask, and I know it's none of my business, and I know he was important in your life as well, but I'm your family, and this makes me very uncomfortable. And if they can't respect that boundary, that's okay. They're entitled to make their own decision, but ultimately, it doesn't feel good. And they need to understand. Tell them from a place of an open heart, you know, like, listen, this really hurts my feelings. I think ultimately, whether the connection is real or not, there's always going to be one party that is kind of like a losing party, someone that's getting laughed at, someone that's getting teased, someone that's going to feel hurt, someone that's feeling out of place. And I would hate from the bottom of my heart for it to be you. So if your family is making you feel that way, you need to speak up for yourself, because that's not fair. Is it bad to say I might not want kids? I love them. I just don't think I want one. Sad face. This question is kind of misleading because there's a sad emoji and then it says, I might not want kids. So it's not a finite answer. I feel like oftentimes when you meet someone that doesn't want children, they're like, no, I don't want kids. Out of service, the uterus is not for sale. You know, I think people that don't want kids have that finite answer of no kids. It sounds to me like you still don't know. And there's no pressure saying you need to have an answer unless there's another party involved. So if you're still thinking about it, it's your body. You can do that. But if you're in a relationship with someone that's like, I for sure want kids, you need to decide whether you want kids or not. It is not bad to say you don't want kids. No one said that just because you have reproductive capacities or organs that you need to harbor a child. Like, that is not a thing. It is not. No one said that, oh, you have a uterus. Have you used it yet? That's not how life works. If a child is not something that you find fulfilling or something that you want to contribute to this world, you don't have to, because guess what? There are so many kids that are brought into this world that came from parents that weren't sure if they wanted kids, and now they're left to fend for themselves. It is a big, big lonely world, and you have the liberty to choose to do what you want with your body. And if you don't want to have a child, or you're not sure if you want to have a child, do not let social pressures or social standards dictate that just because you get to a certain age, you get to a certain place in life, you've married, you've bought a house, that the next step automatically is to have a 9-month lease on your uterus. That's not how life works. You do what you want, you choose what you want, and life is full of choices. And if you feel like the choices are being made for you, you're not living your life properly. All right, you guys, the last question: how to deal with toxic family members and a toxic parent. Toxic is a very harsh word. It is a very mean word. It's a very harmful word, but it's also a very empowering word, and it's a very cathartic word. It's a very specific word. It's a word that gives us comfort in saying it because it makes us feel like there is a reason for why this person is the way they are towards us. Now, when I tell you this, I'm saying it from a place of an open heart, and I'm telling it to you from a place of knowing what it feels like, but also being a parent. And so having a toxic friendship is easy because you trim the fat and you throw them away with yesterday's garbage. Having a toxic work environment, you look and you look and you look and you look, and when it's safe to jump, you jump out the window into your new job and you trim the fat. But when it comes down to it being a sibling or a parent or like a mother-in-law or father-in-law, it's very tricky because you can't trim that fat. You can't cut that out of your life. Some people try, and I don't think it's nice. I don't think it's fair to just stop talking to a parent, but I do think it's fair to take your power back. I do think it's fair to try your hardest to communicate with this person what your needs are and how they make you feel and how the way they treat you invalidates your feelings or hurts you. I think it's important to try and to make this person understand that their behavior hurts you. If you get to a point where they are fully incapable of understanding that their behavior hurts, then you decide which boundaries you need to set up to make yourself feel safe. So if having a conversation is making you uncomfortable, end the conversation. If you don't want your parents to come for Christmas because they're gonna ruin the holiday, say, you know what, we're trying something different for Christmas and it's just gonna be the four of us. Take your power back in understanding that toxicity levels only increase if you allow them to. That it only affects you if you allow it to. Now, I will, for the rest of my life, seek the validation of my parents. That's just how I am. I'm a highly sensitive person. I am an empath, and I need to be liked. I need to be liked by the people that I like. Not strangers. I could give a f. But the people that are important to me, I want them to like me. I want them to accept me. I want them to be proud of my choices. I want them to celebrate my victories with me. And when they don't, it is soul crushing. But I'm also aware of how important this is to me, and that's a me problem, not a them problem. So when the toxic relationship is someone that is so close to you, have clear boundaries. What hurts you? What makes you happy? What do you need? What is a deal breaker? What you accept, what you don't accept. So have a clear understanding of what your boundaries are. If you've attempted to talk to this person and make them understand that what they do, their behavior is not nice and they don't accept it, then you have the power in your hands to decide how much of this you want to accept into your life. How much of this do you want to affect your life? And so the power is yours. The fact that you recognize that you have a close relationship that is toxic, but you're talking about it, which means it's important and you don't want to relinquish that relationship, then set up a baby gate. Set up a safety zone, a safety net of which boundaries you're willing to accept and which you're not. So say that you don't like when your parent criticizes your spouse. This is just an example. You don't like that your mom talks so much crap about your husband. And the minute it starts, it says, hey mom, I told you I don't like when you talk about so-and-so. So do you want to talk about something else? Well, no, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well then I have to go. Take your power back. The next time she calls, she brings it up again. Hey mom, I don't like when you talk about so-and-so. Do you want to talk about something else? No. So you are in control of protecting yourself. You're in total control and you're in your complete right to protect yourself. And that is fair. I don't believe in completely cutting off major relationships like your parents because they are toxic. I think in the end that ultimately hurts you more because God forbid something happens, they get sick, you're not there, you miss out on this time with them, your kids don't grow up around them. You're gonna regret that so much more than having protected yourself from this toxic person, because ultimately you're in control of what you accept, what you absorb into your life, And so I know it could be as easy as maybe like my brother's stand. He's like, well, cut off communication. I don't need that in my life. I'm gonna protect myself and I'm gonna protect it by zero contact. I'm like, but does that make you happy? Because it doesn't make me happy. What makes me happy is, trying. What makes me happy is insisting. And what makes me happy is getting up and trying again and hoping that it'll be different this time. And when it's not, it's okay. I'll take a little break and then I'll try again. It makes me happy to know that I have hope. So it really depends on how toxic this relationship is. I live far enough where I can protect myself and I can share as much as I want to and as little as I want to, and I can see as often as I want to or as little as I want to. But I think ultimately being a parent and knowing how much we love our kids, I refuse to believe that this toxicity comes from a place of maliciousness. It comes from a place of pain, and pain that they've not resolved, pain that they picked up along the way in their upbringing. I don't believe it's personal. And if you're a parent, I think you can understand that closing of the circle of understanding that as parents, we want the best for our kids. I mean, we want these kids to reach for the stars. We want them to be so successful and to accomplish everything their hearts desire. But in our effort to want them to be so successful, we make mistakes along the way. We're too hard on them. We're too strict. We're too judgmental. We're too critical. You know, we're conditional, but that's never our intention. And so when I lay my head down at night and I thank God for another day, I also thank Him for giving me the parents that He gave me, because on the daily I hold up this mirror and I realize the kind of parent that I want to be and the kind of parent that I don't want to be. But I know ultimately at the end of the day, I'm going to make so many mistakes, and I just want my children to know that I love them. That I love them and I love them and I will always love them. And no matter how many mistakes they make and how many mistakes I make, that they are the most important thing to me. And I think that's what keeps me hopeful in a toxic relationship. Is it unhealthy? Yes. But do I speak up for myself? Yes. Do I set up boundaries for myself? Yes. So defend yourself, set up boundaries for yourself, evaluate the situation. Is it something that is super dire and, detrimental and affects you so much? Then yeah, give yourself that space. But if it's not, if it's manageable, if it's just what you grew up with and you're already used to it, you're seasoned, you're calloused, then I think it's worth the effort. I mean, we have one life to live, and it's too short to be holding these grudges and just yucky feelings over someone that is so important to us, like a parent. Anyway, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Why do I always manage to get emo in these girl chats? Actually, I'm pretty sure I get emo in all my videos. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, become a panda, give me a like, I don't know, share with your friends. Maybe there's a friend that's going through the same trouble and maybe I had good advice. I don't know. Hey, listen, this video is fun to watch when you pour yourself a nice hefty glass of wine. It's been a long year. It's been a stressful year. And the least we could do is show up for one another and try to contribute to each other and to our emotional health. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget that if you want to try Winc, you guys, don't make me say it again. 50% off. My poor dogs are like, 50% off your first 4 bottles of wine, you guys. Free shipping. Link in the description box below. I will also leave a playlist for the other girl chat videos we've done. I told you guys, I may not take my own amazing advice, but I give really good advice, I promise you. Everyone comes to me for advice for some reason, probably because I'm brutally honest and I've been through hell and back. Anyway, you guys, I love you so much, and you know what to do. If you found this video useful, entertaining, and learned something, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, this coffee break is over. Bye, guys!